Why debt feels comfortable. Let me ask you something honestly. Have you ever swiped your card? Felt that tiny rush of relief when told yourself you'd figure it out later? Not because you're irresponsible, not because you don't understand money, but because in that moment, debt felt like oxygen. It felt like space, like you could breathe again. Maybe it was covering rent when your paycheck didn't stretch far enough. Maybe it was ordering food after a long week because cooking felt impossible. Maybe it was upgrading your phone because everyone around you already had. And for a few seconds it worked. The pressure eased, the anxiety quieted. Debt solved the immediate problem. So here's the uncomfortable question. If debt makes us stressed, why does it also make us feel safe? Most people think debt is just a math problem. Interest rates, minimum payments, a PR, credit utilization. But that's not the real story. The real story is emotional. We don't cling to debt because we love paying interest. We cling to debt because it protects us from something else. And that something else is usually discomfort. Let me reframe this in a way that might feel different. We're taught that debt is either evil or empowering. It's either reckless or strategic. You're either disciplined or you're irresponsible. That framing misses the point. Debt is often a coping mechanism. Not in a dramatic way, not in a shameful way, just in a very human way. Think about this. You work hard all week. You're tired, maybe underpaid, maybe overlooked, maybe stressed about bills. You look at your bank account and it feels tight. That tightness isn't just financial, it's emotional. It feels like scarcity, like you're falling behind. Now imagine you have access to credit. With one tap, you can remove that tightness. You can buy the thing, fix the problem, smooth the moment, protect your identity. You don't have to feel less than in that moment. That's powerful. And here's where psychology comes in. Humans are wired to prefer immediate relief over long-term stability. It's not a character flaw, it's biology. Our brains are built to solve present threats first. In evolutionary terms, tomorrow didn't matter if today was dangerous. Modern debt taps into that wiring. Your brain doesn't calculate 22% APR in the moment. It calculates relief. It calculates belonging. It calculates I'm okay right now. And comfort is addictive. I've noticed something interesting when I talk to people about money. Very rarely do they say, I just love owing money. What they say instead is, I needed it. I didn't have a choice. I just wanted to feel normal. Debt often protects our identity. If your friends go out to eat and you can't afford it, saying no can feel like social rejection. So you swipe. Not because you don't understand math, but because you understand loneliness. If your car breaks down and you need it for work, putting it on a credit card feels responsible. You're protecting your income. If you grew up with instability, having access to credit can feel like power, like you'll never be helpless again. That's where it gets complicated. Debt becomes a security blanket. Even when it's expensive, even when it's heavy, even when it quietly steals future freedom. And here's another layer most people don't talk about. Minimum payments create the illusion of control. You look at the statement, it says you owe $4,800, but the minimum payment is $126. That feels manageable, contained, safe. Your brain goes, okay, I can handle that. But what's really happening? You're renting your past decisions every month. You're paying for yesterday's relief with tomorrow's time. And because the system is structured to keep payments small, the pain is stretched out, diffused, almost invisible. There's a strange comfort in that. It's predictable. And humans love predictable pain more than unpredictable freedom. Let me explain that. Freedom is uncertain. It requires saying no today for something abstract tomorrow. It requires restraint when no one is watching. It requires sitting with discomfort. Debt, on the other hand, offers a script. Swipe now. Pay later. Repeat monthly. You know exactly what to expect, even if it's slowly draining you. That predictability feels stabilizing. especially in a world that already feels chaotic. Now, I want to talk about something even deeper. Sometimes debt isn't about spending, it's about hope. You tell yourself, I'll make more soon. I'll get that raise. I'll start that side project. Next month will be different. Debt allows you to live slightly ahead of your current reality. It lets you borrow from your optimistic future self. And that can feel empowering, but there's a psychological cost. When your future income becomes pre-committed, your margin disappears. And margin is what creates peace. Margin is the space between what you earn and what you owe. Without margin, every unexpected expense feels like a crisis. Every delay in your paycheck feels catastrophic. Every small mistake feels amplified. Yet, paradoxically, we use debt to feel less stressed, while it quietly builds long-term stress. So what's the turning point? For me, it wasn't fear. It wasn't some dramatic realization about interest rates. It was understanding that debt was giving me short-term comfort at the cost of long-term calm. That's different. Short-term comfort feels like relief. Long-term calm feels like quiet. And quiet is underrated. When you don't owe much, your mind is quieter. Decisions feel lighter. Risk feels less scary. You don't panic when your car makes a weird noise. You're not constantly negotiating with your future self. That realization shifts the conversation from debt is bad to what am I using debt to avoid feeling? That question changes everything. Am I avoiding embarrassment? Am I avoiding saying no? Am I avoiding facing my actual income limits? Am I avoiding the discomfort of slower progress? Because here's the truth. Living below your means doesn't feel glamorous at first. It can feel restrictive, boring, even embarrassing in certain social circles. But what it actually builds is autonomy. And autonomy feels better than comfort. Autonomy means you can walk away from a job that disrespects you. It means you can handle a medical bill without spiraling. It means you don't have to say yes to things you secretly resent. And none of that requires perfection. It requires awareness. Practically speaking, this doesn't mean you need to cut up every credit card tonight or live on rice and beans. It means slowing down the emotional impulse. Next time you feel the urge to swipe, pause for 10 seconds. Ask yourself what problem you're solving. Is it a real financial necessity, or is it an emotional one? Sometimes it will be necessary. Life happens. Emergencies are real. Systems aren't always fair, but other times you'll realize you're buying relief. And relief is expensive when financed at 20%. Another practical shift is focusing less on aggressive payoff timelines and more on rebuilding margin. Instead of obsessing over eliminating every dollar instantly, think about creating breathing room. Maybe that's building a small emergency buffer so the next surprise doesn't go on a card. Maybe it's adjusting lifestyle expectations slightly below your income, not dramatically below, just enough to create space. That space reduces the emotional dependence on debt. And here's something important. Shame makes debt worse. When you feel ashamed, you avoid looking at the numbers. You avoid opening statements. You avoid conversations. Avoidance increases anxiety, and anxiety makes short-term relief more tempting. Compassion works better. When you look at your debt and say, okay, I see why I did this, you regain control. You stop fighting yourself, because most debt isn't created out of stupidity. It's created out of stress, pressure, comparison, optimism, or survival. That's human. The goal isn't to become hyper-disciplined overnight. The goal is to reduce how often you need debt to feel okay. There's a difference. And over time, that difference compounds. Not just financially, but emotionally. Compound interest is powerful, yes. But so is compound peace. Every month you owe a little less, your baseline anxiety drops a little. Every time you pay cash for something that used to go on credit, your confidence rises. Every time you say no without apologizing for your budget, your identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone behind. You start seeing yourself as someone building stability. That's quieter than hype culture. It won't go viral. It won't impress strangers. but it feels solid. And here's where I want to leave you. If debt feels comfortable, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human in a system designed to make spending frictionless and saving invisible. You're responding exactly the way most people would. The difference begins the moment you notice it. You don't need dramatic financial overhauls. You don't need extreme deprivation. You don't need to punish yourself. You just need to slowly trade short-term comfort for long-term calm. One decision at a time. One pause before a purchase. One extra payment when you can. One honest look at your numbers without flinching. That's how you loosen debt's emotional grip. Not with fear, not with shame, but with awareness and small, steady shifts. Progress beats perfection, and peace, even incremental peace, is worth more than the temporary comfort debt provides. You deserve that kind of quiet. If this helped you breathe a little easier, then leave a comment and a like. We are building a space where we talk about money without shame, where we think clearly instead of panicking, where we choose progress over pressure. If that sounds like something you need more of, subscribe and come back for the next conversation.